Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
I'm kind of torn when it comes to Byron Jones and the Philadelphia Eagles. Half of me sees why he would be valuable to this football team, even with the hefty price tag. The other side of me understands that it's a hefty price tag and, it's a very high price for a cornerback who is good in this league. He's not an elite cornerback. He's not an absolute insane stud, but he's a good cornerback who will help this football team, a squad that really needs some sort of available corner who is above average. They need that. They absolutely do. The Sidney Joneses of the world, the Rasul Douglases. It's not going to cut it anymore. So you can look at the upper management, look at Howie Roseman drafting these corners and say, it's on you. It's your fault that the Eagles have to go out and spend $16 to $18 million to get a corner like Byron Jones because you are failing to draft them. But what are you supposed to do? Say, well, if it's on me for not drafting them well and I continue to miss them, well, then we're just going to be screwed. Or you go out and overpay for a free agent. It's a very tough situation. I completely understand both sides of it, but I don't know how to feel. Like I'm literally torn right down the middle because I want a corner who I can trust, who plays every single week. I don't care that he was a Dallas Cowboy. Don't give me that. Don't say you can't trust anyone who rocked the star. When you get paid that type of money, when you hit the free agency market, you go to a different team. It is what it is. What you used to be a part of no longer exists anymore. You're part of the Eagles, and who knows, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe he comes into this locker room, and because he's in the division, because he knows about the rivalry, and because he wants to shut up everyone in Dallas and shut up his teammates, he balls out on another level. Maybe that will motivate him. It's not the same as, say, an Orlando Scandrick when you're talking about some bum who got cut, and then he brought back, and then he got cut again, and then he's going on Fox Sports 1 and all that. You're not going to see that when it comes to Byron Jones. So that's totally a different situation that occurred. I want someone who I can trust back there. He's not elite. We know that. He's not elite, but he is a very good corner in this league who will be available for this squad, who will be able to maintain good receivers in this league. He's good at recovery. He's someone that you can rely on, and that's key. This team needs someone who they can rely on defensively. They have Malcolm Jenkins to this point, right? We don't know exactly what's going on when it comes to the contract, but as of right now, he's on the team and he has a contract. He's unwilling to play on this current contract, but as of right now, he is on the team. So you have Malcolm Jenkins, who is a leader. You have Fletcher Cox. You have Brandon Graham. These players are getting older. These players are getting up in age. There's nobody on that defense that you can look at and say he's going to be here for a long time at an age that is prime level. Fletcher's getting up there. There's no doubt about it. It took him a long time to get going this past season. Brandon Graham, he was definitely playing at a high level. My point is, though, when I'm bringing up the age, is Howie Roseman and Doug Peterson just spoke to the media about how they want to get younger, how they want to target these free agents and these players that are in their later 20s, in that mid-20 range, and you can target them for long term so you can build with those players. So they will be part of the Eagles for years to come, and you will have that as your go-to roster every single offseason, knowing what you have. You don't really have that with these older players. When you look at Byron Jones, he fits the mold when it comes to age. It comes down to overpaying and paying a ton of money and having to bid against other teams that are going to be in the mix as well. But when you have that hole in the cornerback position, you're going to have to go out and get someone. The fix isn't in the draft. I don't trust Howie Roseman to go out and get someone who can just get plugged right in and be an X factor. I don't trust Sidney Jones. I don't trust Rasul Douglas. I like Jalen Mills. I would bring Jalen Mills back. I've mentioned this a few times now. I would not be upset if Byron Jones and Jalen Mills are your two outside corners. I think that is a really good start. The thing is, you will see teams starting to attack Jalen Mills more. Last season, they didn't attack Jalen Mills as much because he had all these slop, disgusting corners on the other side that was easier to get roasted, you would target Jalen Mills over Byron Jones, so maybe that puts more pressure on Mills. Maybe we see more of his flaws because he's getting targeted a lot more. So it's definitely a potential event that you see over and over again on Sundays, if that is the case. It does seem, though, that the Eagles are in on this. I mean, that is a clear target for them this offseason. It just comes down to how much are they willing to pay. Are they willing to get uncomfortable by paying a lot of money for a corner who's 27 years old for, say, 5 years, and to give him guaranteed money? I lean towards yes. I wouldn't be mad if they don't, as long as they figure out the holes in other ways. If they don't get Byron Jones and they do other things that makes me feel comfortable with their secondary, well then, hey, listen, I'm all in. You know, my ears are wide open to hear what the alternative would be. I would like Byron Jones here, though it would make me feel more comfortable knowing that there is a cornerback that can make plays, he can recover, and he will play on Sundays, because you look at his track record, and he is there. He is there at 1 o'clock. He is there at 4:05. He is there at 8:25. He is playing for his team. He is playing for the organization because he is available. You got Sidney Jones tearing a hamstring every other play. It's just what it is right now. And I speak of the secondary, they have a hole when it comes to the safety position. Are they going to bring Rodney McLeod back? At first, I thought there was no way, but then I heard Adam Kaplan talk about it with Jeff Mosher on Inside the Birds podcast, and it is possible, more possible than I thought it ever would be. Now, that doesn't mean you don't target safeties in the draft to help, rebuild that position. The Eagles. What an interesting crew. Now, before we talk more about where the Eagles are when it comes to left tackle, I need to let you know about my promo code BROADS that you can use at SeatGeek's checkout page for $20 off of your total purchase. So the Sixers, the Flyers, they're red hot right now. Or if you're not from Philadelphia, you can use SeatGeek to buy any tickets, and even for concerts. Use the promo code BROADS today. It's a no-brainer. That's essentially free parking. So the news came out that Jason Peters will be testing free agency. The Eagles are going to pretty much say, hey, JP, go ahead. Go test the market. It was very awkward, though, because the door was left open as if you don't get what you want. It's possible the Eagles bring you back. We're not completely shutting the door and letting you walk away. It's still available if that is the case, where you go out and things don't look as green on the other side. That's weird to me. It is weird to me because you drafted Andre Dillard. I mean, you drafted this kid to be your first round left tackle of the future. He should be your left tackle of the future. You drafted the kid first round. This is the NFL. It's not the NHL where you go play juniors for 3 years and then you see the big squad in a few years after you tear up another league and you develop. No, it's time to throw the kid in there. And when it comes to Andre Dillard, there will be an adjustment period. There just will be. From a fan's perspective, I'm talking about. For him, too, of course, obviously. It's a significant jump of what he played last year to a starter role of Carson Wentz's blind side. But from a fan's perspective, we have been blessed with this Hall of Fame left tackle in Jason Peters forever. And his story is just so crazy, from camp and tight end. Wow, what a story. It's hard to even process that he became a Hall of Fame level left tackle. How does that transition even occur? It's mind-blowing. It really is. But when it comes to the fans' perspective with this, there's going to be growing pains. I liked what I saw out of Andre Dillard so far throughout his very short campaign. I thought he had some very strong moments. Now, there's times where he did get beat, and that's totally going to happen. The right tackle debacle, that was a totally different story. And I know some people are upset with his mentality going into that week, pretty much writing it off right from the jump. And he discussed to the media how playing right tackle is like writing with the opposite hand, so it's very uncomfortable. And right from the jump, he was very out of it mentally. But I can also look at Doug Peterson and this coaching staff saying, you're throwing some kid into the NFL right side when he really has no experience whatsoever. The coaching staff put him in a miserable spot to begin with. But I understand where people are upset with, they're upset with his mentality. My point is, you got to embrace the moment. Hey, my teammates need me. I got to go out there and try my best on that right side instead of instantly making excuses. Getting back to my point, though, who cares about the right side? Because he will be playing the left side, and that's what matters. The skill set is there. You see it. There are a lot of things to work on, but that will just come with experience. I just feel as if the Eagles organization and the fans, and hell, even teams over the last so many years, they've just been blessed with great left tackle talent. And Andre Dillard could follow in those footsteps, but I just don't know if it's going to happen instantly, right off the bat. Dominant left tackle. No. So you might see Carson Wentz get hit from behind. You might see him scramble and run into his right and having to throw a ball out of bounds because Andre Dillard gets worked here and there. It's a different mindset when you don't have Jason Peters there for a comfort level. And I'm not talking about learning when it's film or learning on the practice field. I'm just talking about when Andre Dillard's out there and he knows Jason Peters is available at any time if anything goes wrong. That's a security blanket. It's a comfort thing. Now that option's not there. It's all you. It's all on you. So he needs to react differently. He needs to understand that, and I'm sure he does, but it's a totally different mental way to prepare. And based off of how he prepared mentally for the right tackle position, I'm just thinking, is it possible that can relate? His mindset with the right tackle can relate to not having Jason Peters as his backup, if you will, and that's even funny to say. When you think of the line as a whole, you're talking about Vitae leaving, and there's been some discussion, not legitimate discussion, more fans thinking about bringing back Vitae, paying him double digits in millions to be the backup in case someone goes down because there's just no depth. And you can't do that. I know you let Jason Peters walk, so you're off when it comes to that money, but you can't put that back into Vitae for a backup position. It can't happen, especially now you have Alshon Jeffrey in that whole situation. You got Malcolm Jenkins in his contract, and now potentially bringing in Byron Jones for a hell of a contract. So that's just something that can't be done. I do find it interesting, though, that we talk about Vitae as if he's just some random guy that is very replaceable, and to an extent he is replaceable. I feel like he gets undervalued, though. This is a guy who steps in and plays right tackle. He steps in, he plays left tackle in the Super Bowl. And oh, by the way, the Eagles won the Super Bowl, in case you forgot that. He can play guard. He does it all. And you can see how valuable he is based off of knowing that he's potentially going to get double digits in millions in free agency, whether it actually touches 10 or not. The fact that he's going to get a good payday and teams want him and teams know that he can be a contributor to their squad, it's really telling. And I am concerned about this depth. Guys go down all the time. Now, it seems like Jason Kelce will be back, but every single offseason, the conversation of, will Jason Kelce be back, always happens. Now, if he wasn't going to, I think you would hear more about it. It would be more of a conversation. It seems like it's a no-brainer he will be returning, and that's big. I do have some concern, though, when it comes to the offensive line. Is Matt Pryor really a reliable lineman if things go down? Players like that, Jordan Mailata, a name we jokingly discuss, the big rugby guy. He's just getting thrown into NFL football. He's a long-term project. You can't trust him out there in a legit game on Sunday when Carson Wentz is in the pocket. You can't trust Jordan Mailata. Lots to do. Lots to do with this squad. Now, more coaches are getting hired. Shocker. It's actually crazy to me, and I'm getting to the point where I think it's ridiculous. Now, is this going to make or break the Eagles season, how many coaches they have and all these little names that they throw at them without giving the offensive coordinator position to someone, I'm sorry. No, this isn't going to make or break the season, but I do feel like there's too many voices, too many heads, too many positions that are getting thrown in at this point. So the Eagles go out and get Marty Mornhinweg. And if you remember anything about Marty Mornhinweg, he had one of the worst decisions ever in NFL history, deciding to choose the wind when it comes to overtime. Now, I'm not going to judge him completely and say this guy knows nothing about football because he made that one decision. Although, seriously, try and process that right now. Close your eyes and picture being an NFL head coach. You got on the headset. You got the play calling sheet. Maybe you're one of the visor guys. Maybe you're one of the guys that covers their mouth completely with the play sheet so nobody can see what you're saying at any point on the field. Maybe you're a vest guy or a polo guy. But just close your eyes. Picture being in overtime. You got the ball. You're gonna choose to have the wind. Really? I mean, come on. How? What? Anyway, I believe it's getting to the point where too many voices going into Doug Peterson's head. Doug Peterson already overthinks at times and thinks too much in certain situations. Now we're going to have more noise going through his headset every single game, every single practice week. Once again, this is me just thinking it's too much and there's too many titles and there's too many names being involved. Ultimately, does this change whether the Eagles go 11-5 or 10-6? No, it absolutely doesn't. I just question it. Don't you think at some point too many people can be an issue? Sometimes less is more. And now this guy says something. Well, that guy says something, and this guy has input, and that guy has input. I don't know. I just feel like it's silly. It's just so silly. It's so Doug Peterson. The Eagles organization to me is becoming very comical. Very comical when it comes to Doug Peterson and Howie Roseman and how they want the media to perceive them and how they talk to the media and just the way they discuss what they're doing and their plans. Although I thought the most recent conversation, the most recent press conference was probably their strongest, where they flat out stated, this is what we want to do. We're going to take an approach where we're retooling and we're going to get guys and sign them longer when it comes to free agency, go for the more top talent guys in free agency and build with them for more of a couple years rather than the older veteran players. And I thought that was, a very good conversation to have, and it was strong for the most part. Throughout the years, though, throughout multiple years with Doug Peterson and Howie, there have been some interesting, brutal conversations towards the media and the public, and I don't like the way that it goes. It's kind of odd to me. It feels funky. It's almost as if I have to dissect what they say and really think and really process. Okay, well, he said this, but what does that really mean? Instead of, okay, I understand what you're saying because you're actually just telling me. It's all crap. There's so much stuff surrounding it. You got to dive into it and pull the layers off, and that's professional sports. I understand that. It just seems like it's on the silly side and the very unprofessional side when it comes to these two right now and the Eagles. You got the combine and the draft talk still going on. And I love football. I do. I love football so much. When the Eagles are on, there's nothing better. Fall is the best time of the year, specifically just because I love Sundays and I love football. And I love college football too, but I'm more of an NFL guy than a college guy, even though I love college as well. When the NBA is winding down and going through that home stretch when it comes to the postseason, that's so much better to me than watching guys run fast, jump high, talking about their hand size, seeing 73 different versions of a mock draft. Now, no knock if that's what you're into. There are a ton of football fans where football is it. That's all they have. That's what they love the most. They dive into every player. They watch every combine. They read every mock draft. And hey, if that is your thing, by all means, embrace it, enjoy it. And I'm not taking that away from anyone. But for me personally, as a big sports fan where I love it all, I watch tennis, I watch golf, I watch hockey, I watch basketball, I watch college hoops. I'm all over everything. That stuff, all right. Like, I'll get into the draft. I'll get into prospects as it inches closer and gets more into that time. It's starting to get into that time, but I'm not there yet. I'm all in on this Flyers hockey team and the NHL, which I watch every single night. I'm all in on the NBA and all these teams making runs towards the playoffs. That's way more entertaining to me than this guy's hand size, or if Joe Burrow is going to enjoy playing for Cincinnati. Of course he is. The kid dreamed playing in the NFL his whole life. Of course, at this point in his career, he's not going to say, I don't want to go there. Of course he's going to like it. I don't care what his hand size is either. There are some great stories watching some of these defensive players, these big boys running real fast. Like that stuff's cool, don't get me wrong. I guess at this point of the sports calendar, that doesn't move the needle to me most. That's all. That's all I'm saying. So there you have it. There is some Eagles news going on right now. There will be more news that continue to happen. Maybe more coaching hires. You never know. I feel like there's going to be 7 more coaches hired by the start of the season. Maybe you hear more noise on Byron Jones and the Eagles, or the price tag, or what other teams are specifically involved. I know that there are a handful right now. I feel so in the middle, and I hate having that mindset. I hate being in the middle because, what is that? How do you really feel? Well, I would lean towards doing it, but if you don't do it, okay. I'm all right with that. Just show me another plan that makes sense. Show me what you're going to do with that secondary and with those outside corners that will still make me feel comfortable, and you're not going out and spending $18 million on another guy who isn't nearly as talented as Byron Jones. Just have it make sense. It is a lot of money for a guy who isn't elite. He's not elite, but he is a player you can rely on. And at this point, you got to ask the question, how badly do you need that? And based off of how they draft at that position, based off of how they draft a lot of positions, you might have to say that's extremely important. And still go after players who can help the secondary in the draft, along with the wide receiver. And you're seeing some guys that we thought potentially could fall to the Eagles, or in that range to the point where the Eagles can move up in the draft. Well, they had some great combines, and it's possible that's no longer the case. But the Eagles need, and I mean need, to go out and get a wide receiver, an explosive one that can play along Deshaun Jackson. And if you didn't hear, Deshaun Jackson is going to be ready for a new year. He is ready to have an amazing season, and he is mentally prepared to go out there and really let Eagles Nation have it. And I can't wait to see him fly all around the link. And to be fair, he has had a lot of injuries throughout his career, so I don't expect him to be a 16-game guy, but I think last year pissed him off. I think with what happened with the Washington Redskins game early in the year, Eagles were down. He ends up having a couple touchdowns. The place goes electric. He's celebrating. He felt that vibe. He had so much anticipation to come home to Philadelphia based off of everything that happened with that brutal Chip Kelly era and how he was sent out of this city. I'm sure that's eaten him alive. And not just a little bit, a lot. So I feel as if he's so disappointed with what happened last season. He's very disgusted. His stomach isn't sitting right, and he's ready to go out there and really explode. I don't expect him to be a 16-game guy, but if he gives you 12, I'd be satisfied. Even if he gave you 11, I'd be satisfied based off of what happened last season. I don't expect much out of J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. No, I didn't have to bring that name up, right? I didn't have to bring that name up. And now that I did, I'm leaving on a bad note to the point where my mouth tastes all sour. Ew, I can't stand that draft pick. I can't stand it. It keeps me up at night. To this day, I can't sleep at night knowing that J.J. Arcega-Whiteside was selected by the Philadelphia Eagles, and the fact that his mom holds an umbrella over his head at training camp. I can't do this. I have to end it here. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that thumbs up button and subscribe, and I will see you next time.